We've got Claire Purcell and Nigel Nelson here to review the stories in the papers. Guys, I want to begin with Prince William. Claire, give me your view.
Thank you very much.
Has he got himself in too deep? Is this territory that he should be involved in or not?
Well, I think this is a really, really carefully worded statement put out by Prince William. I think it's a good thing that he's showing an interest in what is taking place in the Middle East. It is crafted so well as to not be political, which I think is really important.
But the fact is, it is political.
Well,
it is, and you know, and Isabel made this very good point, Isabel, which is what about the Queen?
Well, the Queen went, above and beyond to try not to get involved in contentious issues and let anyone know what her personal thoughts were, and perhaps that's why she was such a successful monarch. But I do think, as you say, Claire, I mean, if you look at the statement in the round, and I think that's the key, people lifting bits that can twist it whichever way they want. You look at the entire statement, nobody can disagree with what he says. From either side, there have been too many deaths, and there should be a cessation.
What's the point, Isabel? What's the point if he's not going to actually come out? And Claire said, carefully crafted statement. Too carefully crafted, Nigel?
Well, I mean, I disagree with Claire. I do think that that Prince William should follow the convention of the constitutional monarchy, which is to stay out of politics. And you can't say that this is actually non-political. I don't think Benjamin Netanyahu would agree with what Prince William has said for a start. So automatically, it is political. I agree with his sentiments. I'm not against that. I just think that when it comes down to the heir to the throne, should stay out of political controversy.
However well-intentioned
all he's calling for is aid to be let in.
A humanitarian issue is not political, so I don't accept the politics of it.
Asking for hostages to be released. So I don't see that there is anything wrong in that, in highlighting the humanitarian cost that this has had on the area, and for it to be resolved. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and I think that it shows a slightly different changing face, and perhaps what his term as the monarch would look like. And I think it's important the Queen was an amazing monarch, and we will never have another like her. But it changes. Times have changed. The monarchy is changing.
But that's the debate in the House of Commons this afternoon.
I'd like to take this opportunity
so that's what I mean about you can't take it away from being political, because politicians will be debating it later on today.
But what he has said hasn't been out of step with pretty much consensus across all parties, and I think that's what makes it sort of apolitical.
You can see that the Queen is not the one that he's taking influence from here. It's his mother. But there was a difference when she undertook her landmine campaign. She wasn't HRH.
That's well, I mean, that's right. And also, I think that the landmine campaign is something completely different. What she was talking about was how to rid the world of landmines. That in itself wasn't a contentious issue.
No, but she did approach contentious issues. She wasn't afraid to touch and cuddle people who had HIV.
Is that contentious?
Well, it was at the time.
But it's not political. Is it political?
No, but it's saying that people need humanitarian aid, women and children who have nowhere to go. That's not necessarily a political comment. He's saying that they need to have water and medicine, and I think that's the sort of thing Diana would probably have espoused.
Yeah, well, I'm not entirely certain about that, but I mean, you can't take away. I think that the HIV with Diana, the landmine thing, wasn't a political cause. This inevitably is, because we're at odds with Netanyahu.
OK. Guys, there's so many good stories here today to touch. The thing I want to get to now is Putin. It's the front page of the Mirror there, and it says, Putin's Brit targets multi-millionaire on Kremlin hit list, claims a dozen at risk in the UK. And there was a fundraiser last night for Ukraine in the West End. And a lot of people, a lot of well-known faces would have attended that. And I just wonder, Claire and Nigel, does that put them at risk here, or will people think twice, Nigel, before putting their head above the parapets?
Well, I mean, obviously that people will think twice. Of these 12, I've spoken to 6 of them in the past. Bill Browder, who's actually saying this, is one of the bravest of the lot. He comes out publicly and makes it clear he is on Putin's hit list and has been...
He was on our show yesterday morning.
And has been for some time. Some of the others are a bit more reluctant to talk about about it because it tends to frighten their families when they do, which is understandable.
You see, this is not a ludicrous suggestion, because my very, very good friend Jill Dando comes to mind, and no one can ever explain how and why she was shot in the head. And it could have been for something like this. It could have been something that was going on in the then Yugoslavia at the time, or not. But Claire, what's your view on this?
I think that the threat is very real, and I think that we saw that from those two individuals who came all the way over here to look at remarkable Salisbury Cathedral and managed to poison people with Novichok at the same time. And we know that Putin has that kind of MO. We know that he has the ability. And I think that people are going to be concerned. There are a lot of MPs who have been sanctioned and are on hit lists written up by the Russian state. And I think his reach into the United Kingdom is quite frightening. And that's the real issue of it, is that you don't know quite when it's going to happen next.
Yeah, and I believe Putin has issued a red notice now. This is his hit list for Navalny's brother.
Yeah.
So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Yulia, his wife,
I wonder
and
has
his brother
anybody put
in big
Putin
threat.
on a hit list?
Well, I mean, the International Criminal Court want him, but when he travelled to where was
no,
it
but
recently,
I mean a serious black
impunity.
operation government type thing. I don't think so, because the consequences.
I think the consequences are a bit much. And also, I think that nowadays our spooks have lost their licence to kill.
Have they?
Can we talk about this Trident missile, a story, front of the Sun, Nigel? And I believe the Defence Secretary was actually on board at the time of this misfire.
He was indeed.
Hugely embarrassing. And not only that, it's the second such incident, and yet we're told it was event-specific, an anomaly that was event-specific.
I don't know what event-specific means.
Yeah.
When the Ministry of Defence say an anomaly occurred, well, certainly it did, and you can say that again, really. Yeah, this is the second time it happened. The first time was in 2016, and one of these missiles fizzled out like a damp firework, and it happened again with Grant Shapps on board HMS Vanguard when they fired another one off the coast of Florida. It was meant to travel 3,500 miles into the Atlantic. Instead, it just went poof, straight down into the sea. And these things, apart from the fact that these things cost £17 million each, it's a bit worrying. This is our major line of defence, and if it's not working, we're spending an extra £40 billion now on a new Dreadnought-class submarines. If this is not working, our defence actually has got a huge hole in it.
Yeah, it is worrying, and I wonder why it all has come to light now, because I believe this actually happened at the end of January.
Yes.
And would we have ever even heard about it?
Probably not. Probably not if a journalist hadn't discovered it.
Interesting.
Claire, I was to say, there's so many good stories here. Is there one that you would like to choose to talk about next? I was looking at that trans-military personnel story there.
Yeah, that is quite interesting, and it comes into all of the debates around female-only spaces. And I think that there had been a report, and the MP Sarah Atherton had looked into a report in 2021 regarding sexual assault within the military. And she was saying that it was completely out of hand, safeguards are not in place to protect women's service personnel, and to have a knee-jerk reaction that the MOD has had by suggesting that somebody who is a man being a trans woman should be able to use female accommodation and
female-only accommodation.
Female-only accommodation and washing facilities is completely wrong. It's not been thought through, and I think that we need to step back from this argument and look at the women who have already suffered within the military, and it is well documented that they have had enormous amounts of sexual assault, harassment and rape charges. And then to suggest that it's perfectly OK for somebody who identifies as a woman to come into those spaces, they aren't going to feel safe. And I think that it is incumbent upon the MOD, the government and society to look at the safety of women, not write them off, and not just accept that this needs to happen for a very small minority of the population.
Okay.
Now, a small minority of the population is involved in reversing time, in making themselves look younger by starving themselves Now, I know of a person not too far away from me here who does this, 3 times a week?
Twice a week.
Twice a week, and moans and groans about it all week. But she does it, and already she looks 14 to me.
Oh. It's all the rage, isn't it, fasting? Rishi Sunak does it on a Monday, and apparently, Nigel, this story is inside the Telegraph, and apparently it can cut your biological age by 2 years.
Well,
you do 5 days a month. I do 2 a week.
2.5 years.
2.5 years, that's right. So, I mean, Rishi Sunak may be 82 for all we know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's not quite a total fast, this one, where you can have some plant-based soups.
That's exactly
some
what I do. Juices and broths.
Oh, right, OK. So you're doing this
trend,
already?
Nigel.
Energy bars?
No, just juices and broths.
OK, we have some dried snacks too, according to the University of California who've developed this. Fine, if you fancy starving, then it's up to you. I'm not sure.
No, I think
I'll age gracefully, I think.
I think there is quite good scientific evidence. I mean, I don't have diabetes, but they say that this can reverse types of diabetes just fasting a couple of days a week. And I have to say, as long as you keep yourself full, lots of drinks of water, lots of drinks of herbal tea, black coffee, and you have your juices and your broths. I haven't had any dip in energy. The only trouble is I do struggle to get to sleep on the first day of the week when I've fasted. But
do you actually feel better at the end of it?
Yes.
OK.
Genuinely feel better.
Isabel's a really fun person, right? But she loves beating herself up. She loves something.
He likes it when I'm having a good feed and a good drink.
Absolutely.
I'm much more fun.
And then you're much more pleasant to be around. Anyway, would you have a go at this, Claire? Not that you would need to, but for health reasons, or...
I just... yes, no, yes. I would like the idea of it, but I don't have the time to sort of prepare all of that.
No, that's why it's all pre-prepared. It's great. I'll give you the details, Claire.
But Claire, I have to say, you can't afford to go further back in time.
You're tiny wee as well.
And look younger and younger, married to an old man.
I'm not having that. I'm not having that, Nigel.
You think?
You don't? Yeah, no, you don't.
Makeup covers a lot of sin.
Guys, thank you very much. We've so much more to talk about when you come back, and we look forward to that when we see you again.
Including Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying that green taxes are driving away business. Lots more for you with these two coming up. But for now, here's the forecast with Alex Burkle.